But now, with that threat now, knowing Chiwenga knowing, and the generals now knowing that, he was prepared, to be doing that, things will never be the same.
I think what was happening here was all along what we've been seeing with CAB 3 is that it was a test of, it was daring each other. There are two sides here. Both sides believe that they've got loyalists both in the party and loyalists in the army, loyalists in the police, loyalists in the presidential guard. Both parties believe they've got people within.
Mhm.
The question is, how much support did people have? No one knew. Because the generals in the army can never really state their position. They can
Yes.
never say that we are behind this one or that one or that one. They don't say that. It is only at the last minute, when action is about to be taken against some of them, that people take positions. That is why Mugabe wanted to arrest Chiwenga and some generals. He thought he had the loyalty of the army. In the same
Uh-huh.
way that CAB has been pushed, all these boundaries have been pushed, and we got into a point where there's a possibility that there could be a targeting of the vice president because they believe they've got the power. And then the message came out that, there's resistance. It's no different to how they've been pushing CAB, and then people like me stood up when we were unexpected to stand up. That is also
Mm.
what is beginning to happen in structures of the what? The institutions of the country. So
Right.
when you push in what is that book, Art of War? When you
Yeah, yeah.
push people to dead ground, where this person has no option, his back is against the wall, and now they have to fight. Only then can you know whether you can beat this person or they're gonna defeat you.
Yes, yes.
And that's where we got to last week.
Yeah. So that is now that you're saying that you can actually put things, the dominoes into place.
Yes. Yes. Saka those
Zimbabwe.
allegations ekuti vanatemba vanga vada kuorganize maprotests,
Yes,
it's
yes.
true.
And those t-shirts which they dismissed as kuti hanzi hapana chiripo, but
Ini nditori nevanhu vari muarmy vakatonditumira mapictures akati ona zvaakuita vanhu vako. And the reason zvazvinzoona zvakuita vanhu vako is I was always associated with them because I used to hit Geza big time.
oh yes.
So I could have been on that list that you saw last time being put with Vana Joshua, Jonathan, Vana Joshua Maponga as the criminals against the state. Ndikadaenda kaiswa way papo, I would have been there.
tikana takatokonzwa zvisana kuti chiverengwa nacomrade Knox.
Because if you look at what I used to do and what Joshua Maponga does, I mean, there are light years difference there. Joshua doesn't do anything for these guys. Saka ndifungwa ndikadai ndiri panhamba chii palist paya paya.
ndofunga abhiniti tagwirei.
But imimi guys, mukaona murume mukuru akutiza vanhu vaakambenge akamira navo, you must know that there's something that he knows and the things that we know that other people don't know.
Yeah, that is true.
Vanatemba they are risking living in exile for the rest of their lives, because even when these people talk to each other, there are people within this team that cannot be dispensed with. So there are going to be ministers who can't be dispensed with. There are going to be technocrats that can't be dispensed with even when there is a change in power. So when these people negotiate, vanokwanisa kubvumirana. And like Grace Mugabe remained in Zimbabwe after Mugabe went, there are certain people here who are not going to leave Zimbabwe and who are not going to be arrested, who continue to live normal lives. But there are those that are going to be thrown under the bus, who are going to be pushed out of the country, who are going to be in exile like the Moyos. And Temba risks that.
And abatogara ari munhu wemahandouts and akomana akazobuda kunzoka mana angaigone here.
Funga zvako. Onzwa Temba ruti hanzi munhu akabvisa masanctions uri kuda mahandouts. Aiwa ndakashanda basa rangu inini.
aiwa mutemo hurumende unoti munhu ashanda ngapiwo mari yake.
Saka nditori munhu anofanira kutopiwa matreasury bills. Ndiri kutokweretwa. But iye uyu haana chaanoita.
haana temba ndei kuda kungofadza pasi pemhino aya.
Maponga same thing.
Akuda kufadza pasi pemhino.
Maponga same thing. Anodzokera South Africa kwaasiri kudiwa. And then there are people who will not be dispensed with. It wouldn't be surprising if Vanama Goa Matanga get rehabilitated. It won't be surprising Vanama Ngunjuka get rehabilitated. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
Chagwire, I don't think he's dispensable. Mari yake ichadiwa munyika. Mabhizinesi yake achadiwa munyika.
But uyo haafanira kuitwa dispensable because ane mari yedu.
Uri kuzvinzwisisa? But pane vachaita dispensable apa.
Oh yes. Because kana move yaitwa nenge nachivhayo, what do you make of it? Yekuti he's trying to get a divorce case yake, thrown away in Zimbabwe because it is tied to what is happening, in South Africa in terms of the freezing of his monies and the capture of this aircraft, that is, or the detaining of this aircraft, in South Africa.
I don't understand his argument because his argument is not no different to I don't know if you guys know the DJ the Black Coffee. South African courts have already made a precedent to say if you were married in a traditional marriage, then you were married in community of property with your wife.
Oh yes,
if you're
yeah.
married in common law, you are married in community of property with your wife. So what I've heard is it sounds like Wicknell is saying that he had a traditional marriage with his wife, Akanobhadhara Gupuro. That
Yes.
illustrates and confirms that there was a traditional marriage.
And
So
there was
that
a
means
marriage,
that they
yes.
should be in community of property and 50-50 with the wife. That's my
Exactly.
understanding according to the ruling and precedent set in South Africa.
Right. There's a question in ngirikuya andizoni pane story yabrekwa ne ndayotanga kuiona Bloomberg yabrekwa futi ne Reuters Africa, where it's being said kuti we are going to be retaining 67 farms anga covered ne bilateral investment pacts.
Nabipa, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Saka munhu ari kubvunza kuti why is ED making this move? Is this not a desperate move?
It's tricky to say that it has anything to do with what we're talking about because they've lost in courts. There's a tribunal in Singapore where
Right.
the case yakaendeswa na Van Persselt,
Uh-huh.
who was the owner of Border Timbers, if I'm not mistaken. He has gone and he has challenged the taking of his farm because it was protected by BIPA agreements. I think he's Swiss. And because it was protected by BIPA agreements, Switzerland, Germany, and most of the European Union had signed BIPA agreements with Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of the loss of that case, which has, I think, said that the Zimbabwean government must pay $400 million to Van Persselt and return his property. They must pay $400 million or return his property. This is the precedence and the court precedence that has shown that they owe the Europeans. And so what is happening is because they want debt restructuring right now, they are unable to have the Europeans vote for them to get the debt restructuring because
Yes.
they have not fulfilled some of the obligations that the Europeans feel need to be fulfilled. So because there are talks right now between our Ministry of Finance and the Europeans and Americans to restructure Zimbabwe's debt, that's why now they're starting to have this discussion. Zimbabwe wants to get money from the IMF and Paris Club. They want restructuring of their debts. And that can be done if the votes on those multilateral institutions are given in their favor. So we have a situation where Zidera still stands and the United States can instruct its directors to vote or not vote for Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also have the Europeans vote with Zimbabwe even when the Americans refuse, and that will give a majority vote to Zimbabwe, and restructuring can be given to Zimbabwe, or debt can be given to Zimbabwe from these multilateral institutions. But the Europeans will not vote for Zimbabwe or with Zimbabwe as long as they're unhappy about some of these outstanding issues. So that is one of the motivations why President Mnangagwa might be forced to do this. People have read into it that President Mnangagwa must give this land to try and impress and appease the Europeans so that they can accept CAB. No, I don't think this has anything to do with CAB.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And
Okay.
remember, I wrote a write-up in which I said, Kudata Gray is a member of the World Economic Forum.
Mm-hmm.
And his company, Sakunda, is a partner. It's one of only 900 companies internationally that are a partner to the World Economic Forum. So this means that Kuda sits on a body of the men and women and the financial institutions that run the world. And so those people have told him that if you are going to be president of this country, or if your president is going to succeed in taking this country forward, you need debt restructuring, and we can give you that debt restructuring, but on the following conditions. And one of those conditions would be honor your agreement with our
Yes.
citizens.
Uh-huh.
Protected by BIPA agreements are Germans, Swiss, and their Swiss bankers, their German bankers, their European bankers, and billionaires.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Let us strip everything back and everything back to the conversation.
This is the current situation we are having in our country, mhuri Zimbabwe. Munyika medu hamuna kugadzikana. Isusu sekuruka Jones Media tiri kupa kutsvagira inyaya tinouya nenyaya semawanira tinenge tadziita atiwedzere kana kutapudza. Thank you so much for watching our videos. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like, comment and share. I am signing out.